There's a job where companies pay you legally to break into their systems, steal their data, and then tell them exactly how you did it. It pays six figures, and there aren't enough people to fill it. It's called penetration testing, and it might be the most romanticized job in all of tech. This video is the unromanticized version, the one that actually gets you hired. Because here's the truth the hacking montages skip. The barrier isn't intelligence. It's knowing the exact order to build skills, pick certs, and route around a hiring system that's genuinely broken for beginners. So here's the plan: the real salaries at every level, the certifications ranked by how much recruiters actually care, the skills you must build first, the home lab, the truth about the day job, and the catch-22 that traps people with the way out. One hard rule up front, because it's the line between a career and a criminal record: you only ever test systems you have written permission to test. Everything here assumes authorization, always. This is the last video in our cybersecurity career series, and it's the one people ask about most. Let's do it properly. Let's start with what you actually came for: the money, because it's genuinely good and genuinely misunderstood. Entry-level penetration testers land roughly $85,000 to $95,000. That's a strong starting number by any measure, but notice it's an entry number, not the fantasy figure. 3 to 5 years in, mid-career testers sit around $110,000 to $140,000. And seniors with a specialty, cloud, Active Directory, hardware, pass $150,000, sometimes well past $200,000. Here's the lever that moves those numbers fastest: a respected offensive certification. Listings that require the OSCP advertise some of the highest pay in the field. $35,000 a year, on average, for a certification that costs around $2,000. There are not many trades in the world with that return on a single exam. So the money's real. Now let's earn the right to it, starting with the skills nobody puts in the exciting part of the video. Before any certification, 5 foundational skills. Skip these and you'll memorize hacking tools without understanding a thing they do, the exact profile that fails interviews. 1. Linux from the command line, not clicking around, actually living in a terminal because your entire toolkit does. Kali Linux will become your home. 2. Networking. You cannot attack what you don't understand: how packets move, how DNS resolves, how a web request actually works. This is where most self-taught hackers are secretly weak. 3. Scripting. Python and Bash, enough to automate the boring parts, and crucially, to read an exploit and understand what it's doing before you run it on a client's network. 4. Web fundamentals, the OWASP top 10, which we did a whole video on. Most real-world engagements involve a web application, so this is bread and butter, not optional. And 5. Windows and Active Directory, because corporate networks run on it, and internal engagements live or die on how well you understand it. It's the least glamorous skill and one of the most valuable. The theme tying all 5 together: penetration testing is just deep systems knowledge weaponized. The hacking is the easy part once the understanding is there. Quick tour of the toolkit, because interviewers ask and beginners bluff. You don't need to master all of it, you need to know what each one is for. Reconnaissance and scanning, Nmap to map what's alive and listening. It's the first thing you run on almost every engagement, and knowing its flags cold marks you as serious. Web testing, Burp Suite, the proxy that sits between you and a web app so you can inspect and tamper with every request. If web is your path, Burp becomes an extension of your hands. Exploitation, the Metasploit framework for known vulnerabilities, and increasingly your own scripts for everything it doesn't cover. Real skill is knowing when the framework won't save you. And for internal work, tools like Bloodhound that map the hidden paths through a Windows Active Directory to find the route from a nobody account to full domain control. The mindset that matters more than any tool. Tools find the door, but understanding is what tells you it's a door at all. Chasing tools without fundamentals is how people plateau for years. Now certifications, and this is where beginners waste the most money, because the cert with the biggest marketing budget is not the cert recruiters respect most. At the top, the OSCP from Offensive Security. It's the price of admission for serious roles, and it earns the respect because the exam is genuinely brutal. 24 hours to hack a set of real machines under a clock, then a second day to write a professional report. It proves you can actually do the job, not just pass a quiz. Around $1,750 for the bundle. The smart money pick, the PNPT from TCM Security, $499. 5 days on a realistic engagement, and uniquely, you finish by presenting your findings live to assessors, exactly like a real client debrief. Recruiter recognition of the PNPT is climbing fast, and at a quarter of the OSCP price is the best value in the field right now, a superb first serious cert. For a gentle first step, there's the EJPT, cheap, beginner-friendly confidence building, and then there's the CEH. The CEH is a multiple-choice exam near $1,000. Here's the honest take. It's an HR checkbox, sometimes required for government roles, but most practitioners don't respect it as proof of skill. Know what it is, don't lead with it. The pragmatic ladder for most people. Build skills free, prove them with the PNPT, then earn the OSCP when you're ready for the salary it unlocks. Certifications prove skill. The home lab is where you build it, for free legally, on machines you're allowed to destroy. The setup is cheap. Virtualization software like VirtualBox, a Kali Linux attacker machine, and intentionally vulnerable targets like Metasploitable to practice against. Your whole first lab runs on one laptop. Then the practice progression that actually works. Start on TryHackMe guided rooms that hold your hand while the concepts land. Graduate to Hack the Box, unguided machines where nobody tells you the answer. This is the closest thing to the real interview and to the real job. And here's the step that separates the hired from the hopeful. Document everything. Every box you crack, write up how, the methodology, the commands, the dead ends. Those write-ups are your portfolio. When the job listing wants experience you don't officially have, a public trail of solved machines and clear reports is the experience, visible, verifiable, yours. Now the reality check on the day job, because the fantasy and the paycheck are attached to very different activities. The uncomfortable truth, 30 to 40% of the job is writing the report. Findings, business impact, and how to fix them, in language a busy executive will actually act on. A brilliant hacker who writes a confusing report is a mediocre pentester. The client is buying clarity as much as the break-in. Communication is a core skill, not a soft one. The work also comes in flavors. External testing from the internet, internal assume breach engagements deep in Active Directory, web app testing, wireless, even physical break-ins, and social engineering. And two career shapes. Consultancy, many clients, fast pace, real travel, a new network every week, or an in-house red team, going deep on one organization against its own defenders. Both are great, neither looks like the move is. If chaotic variety energizes you, go consultancy. If depth and mastery pull you, go in-house. Knowing which you are is worth a lot. Now the most important 2 minutes in this video, the ethics and the law, because this is the one place a mistake doesn't cost you a job, it costs you your freedom. The entire profession rests on one word, authorization. Written, specific, signed before you touch anything. It's called the scope and it defines exactly what you may test and what is off limits. The same exact command is a paid engagement on an in-scope server and a federal crime on the one next to it. The technical skill is identical. The paperwork is the entire difference. So a hard warning for the impatient, do not practice on systems you don't own or have explicit permission to test. Not your old school, not that company that annoyed you. Use the labs, they exist precisely so you never have to. The good news, bug bounty programs on platforms like HackerOne give you real legal targets that pay for the vulnerabilities you find. It's the sanctioned way to test live systems and build a public reputation at the same time. Get this part right and it becomes a genuine superpower. You're one of the few people who can do this and is trusted to. Get it wrong once and no certification undoes a conviction. Now the problem everyone hits and nobody warns you about. The entry-level job that demands 5 years of experience. It's the field's cruel catch-22, entry-level penetration tester. Requirements, 3 to 5 years of penetration testing experience. You've seen it, it's real, and it stops most people cold. Here's why it exists. Pentesting is high trust and high liability. Companies are nervous handing network keys to the unproven, so lazy job descriptions overask to feel safe. And here's the way through 2 of them. First, substitute proof for tenure. An OSCP, a public hack-the-box profile, and real write-ups tell a hiring manager you can do the work today, experience box be damned. Second, and more reliable, go sideways. Most pen testers didn't start there. They started at help desk or as a SOC analyst or a security analyst, the roles we covered earlier in this series, and moved across once inside. That defensive seat teaches you how networks really behave and gets you past the experience filter. 2 years as an analyst plus an OSCP beats 2 years of applying cold to jobs that auto-reject you. So let's compress all of it into a realistic 12-month plan, free where it can be, paid only where it pays off. Months 1 to 3, the foundations, Linux, networking, and Python basics reinforced with beginner TryHackMe paths. No certs yet, build the base the certs will test. Months 3 to 6, stand up the home lab and move to Hack the Box. Start publishing write-ups from day 1. A mediocre write-up published beats a brilliant one in your private notes. Months 6 to 9, take the PNPT, your first serious, affordable proof, and critically start applying now, including to SOC and analyst roles. The sideways door counts as winning. Months 9 to 12. Attempt the OSCP, polish the portfolio, and apply widely to junior pentest roles armed with certs, a public track record, and maybe a defensive job already paying you to learn. 12 months is aggressive but real for the focused. 18 to 24 is more common, with a full-time job alongside, and completely fine. The people who make it aren't the smartest, they're the ones who didn't quit at month 4. So, should you become a penetration tester? If you love taking things apart to understand them, if a locked door reads as a puzzle instead of a wall, then yes. This is one of the most genuinely fun careers in tech. But go in clear-eyed. It's years of study, a real chunk of it is report writing, and the entry door is guarded by a broken hiring system you have to outsmart with proof and patience. The reward for pushing through: a 6-figure job that never gets boring, where you're paid to learn constantly and legally do the thing every kid who ever loved computers dreamed about. And that's a wrap on our cybersecurity career series: analyst, certifications, frameworks, and now the offensive path. If you watch them all, you have a genuine map of this entire industry. If this saved you from a $1,000 wrong cert mistake, subscribe. Everything here is about turning cybersecurity from a mystery into a plan you can follow. Now go spin up that lab.